Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. To start, would you mind just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit more about yourself and about your interest in mediation? Okay, so we are joined today, we're very honored to be joined today by Dr. Mindaoudou, and she's going to be speaking to us a little bit more about her experiences in mediation. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, to get started, would you mind just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit more about yourself and your experiences in mediation?
So I was saying that I'm Dr. Aichatou Mindaoudou, and actually I'm an international law teacher at the University of Niamey. So I kept that position from 1991 to 2001, something like that. And as you know, the process of the democratization came in Africa. I was the only female in this position at the university, so I was caught up in the process. And after that, I was appointed foreign minister of my country. I spent 10 years keeping that position. After this position, I was appointed joint deputy representative of the United Nations Secretary General and the President of African Union at the mission in Darfur, UNAMID, it is called. And I spent 1 year and a half in the position, and later on I was appointed the head of the mission, the interim head of the mission, and joint chief mediator. It was there that I really handled the international mediation. But in my position of as foreign minister, also I conducted some mediation in some countries in West Africa that were facing some conflicts. So in Darfur, I mediate between the state, the Sudan then, and the rebels groups. We conducted this mediation, let's say, for almost a year and a half, and mostly in Doha. So I was conducting the mediation together with the Prime Minister of Qatar. So later on, I was also sent by the UN to Côte d'Ivoire, where I was appointed as the head of the peacekeeping mission. And in that position, I was holding the file of good offices. And good offices actually is only mediating on one hand between the government and the opposition, and on the other hand, it is really mediating and conducting good offices inside the local communities, because those communities were very teared off because of local conflicts and also social cohesion. So I will stop there.
Thank you very much. You've obviously experienced a long and illustrious career. So thank you for giving us a small snapshot of that career. To start off, I would just like to ask you, as an African mediator mediating in Africa, do you think that your approach to mediation is impacted by your cultural background?
Of course, I would say, because any approach of mediation, I think, is impacted by the ideals implicit to cultural background of any mediator. So as an African, my ideal is really contributing to building social cohesion and peaceful cohabitation between components of the society. And I'm very keen in really participating in conflict resolution. And for me, conflict resolution is built through compromise and patience and persistence. So yes, I think those ideals, I have them always somewhere in the back of my consciousness while conducting mediation.
So it's really, in your experience, almost indivisible to take the values and the cultural background or the cultural milieu of a person out of the mediation process?
You know, from my experience, I can say that you can build on the ideals you have because it is part of you. You cannot separate from them. This is true. But for me, I always try to build also on the ideals of the group I'm mediating, because you cannot impose on them your values, but you will try to see how you can read their values through the lens of yours, and how you can use your values to help them reach the point they want to reach and you want them to reach.
Absolutely. So in consideration of your own ideals and background and that of the individuals participating in the mediation, it sounds like it's quite a fluid process. So you do you have a specific format that you prefer to stick to, or could this format change during the mediation process?
You know, my preference personally is a kind of what I can call facilitative mediation, because I consider myself as a facilitator. I'm not there to impose on the parties my views, my position, even my way to reaching the point. But I think that the approach is different. If I'm in front of local communities, for example, in Côte d'Ivoire and Darfur, or in a much hard political mediation, such as the mediation I spoke about between the state of Sudan and the rebels. When you mediate between formally in a kind of political contest, it is a very formal mediation. And it is formal because you have to go through opening statements, through agendas, to working through the agendas, to engaging really very precisely with the parties, etc., etc. And when you are engaging with local communities, it is not that formal, because then you come as really a human being, as a person that is very willing to help them to go through their conflicts, and then to resolve the conflicts. And in this situation, my approach is that I have to behave in order to build confidence from the community. They must have confidence in me, and the approach there is different. I'm not going to really formal how do you say it, formal statement, or working with papers and so and so. This is a very in French we say corps à corps. It is engagement. You are together, sitting with the communities, talking with them, and then trying to make them accept you, and then be open to you in order to help them reaching the solution. I remember, you know, I was in an area in Côte d'Ivoire where the conflict was so deep between the communities that they were killing each other. They were not talking to each other, and they are not accepting each other's, although they were living in the same place. So I went with my team to visit those communities. So we arrived at 6 a.m. and we spent almost 5 to 6 hours before engaging separately with them, before the two groups accepting to come and sit down together. So exactly at the moment where this acceptation was done by the groups, I was at the UN. So my assistant came and told me, look, it is 5 p.m. And, for the UN, you shouldn't be outside the headquarters at this time. So if I was sticking to the process of the mediation, I would say, okay, I would tell the population, look, I will come back tomorrow. But my feeling was that if I break this very tiny agreement, informal agreement we reach, I won't be able to reconnect the day after and then to continue the process. So I told them, look, what you will do, the plane should go. Me, I will just remain with the population and continue working. We worked up till 10 p.m. And I was so happy because at the end of the day, the conflict was resolved. Those people were speaking to each other, and then they also accepted really to work with us through community projects and so and so. And we were able to open this large window. And up till today, those communities are very grateful, and they are in contact with me. So you see, it is not always that you can implement formal negotiation. I think it is related to the feeling, to your feeling. What are you feeling at the moment? Which vibration are you feeling at the moment? Are you connected with the population? And it is the first and foremost, for me, condition.
Thank you so much for sharing that wonderful example. And it just makes me realize, sorry, we have a lot of jets flying overhead here for the BRICS event. So I live nearby Santon, so I'm hearing all the jets flying over. It's making me realize how intuitive the process is and how different the mediative process is compared to a track 1 state level, as you were speaking in Darfur that you did, versus the community, perhaps more level 2 or 3 in Côte d'Ivoire. It seems to be that there is quite a difference in approach to mediation at these different levels, these different tracks.
Exactly. But also, I think in both processes, I always keep a kind of gain-to-gain outcome, because if one party is not feeling that its concerns are taken into account, it would be difficult. They will give it hard to you, make it hard to you.
Absolutely, it would be far more challenging. And then in this process of mediation, it seems you focus more on the actual process and making sure that the parties are comfortable more than the outcome, although I imagine the outcome is also important.
No, I think, now that you are asking the question to me, I realize that I think that in the back of my mind, I keep the process, but I always adapt this process. And the most important for me is not the process. If you have a process that doesn't work, you cannot stick to the process. And the process, the official process, mediation process, is not a process that is written in the stone. No, I think that the performance of a mediator is the ability immediately to adapt the process, to adapt to the condition. I was talking about vibrations of the groups. So I think that the two are always there, even though in my mind, I don't think about the process. I'm just focused on the outcome and how to build this gain-to-gain outcome, how to make those populations interested in what I'm saying. Me, mainly, I really I privilege the listening and the communication. I don't intervene as if I have a goal I want to impose on them. No, I will really work through clarifying their expectations and trying to make the two expectations meet together.
That's absolutely fascinating. So it's a process of listening and communicating rather than imposing.
Exactly.
So then what would you describe as a success in mediation process?
Oh, for me, it is very simple. I consider mediation as successful. Let me, perhaps now that I'm thinking about it, perhaps successful on 2 or 3 points. The first one is that you build this confidence with the population or with the parties, let's say. You the possibility of discussing and the parties are engaging openly with you. Even though at the first moment you don't reach an agreement, but these channels are open, you can go and come back. But the most criteria for me for an successful mediation is reaching an successful implementable agreement between the parties.
And I'm also hearing that in the process, the success is in building the trust, because you're looking for something that is going to be a sustainable mediation, a sustainable outcome, a sustainable communication between the parties and even between the communities and yourself.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. The sustainability is very good. It's very important, because if you reach an agreement and you turn your back, you left, and they came back to square one, it is not, for me, successful. This sustainability is very important, and to obtain this sustainability, you are obliged to follow up by coming back to the communities, if there are local communities. And with regard, for example, to this political mediation in Darfur, I was later on in charge of implementing the agreement in Darfur, so that quite every day, we were engaging with the parties, how to implement this provision, how what is needed to implement it. Is there any challenges we must solve, etc., etc. But for me, really, it is an implementable agreement, and also sustainable agreement, because the sustainability, as I said, is that you resolve definitely the problem.
Absolutely. And in your answers and your discussion with me so far, I've already been hearing a little answers here and here about my next question, which is, what is, in your opinion, the selection criteria for being a leader in mediation? I've heard you talk about patience. I've heard you talk about perseverance. What other selection criteria do you think are very important to be a leader in mediation?
So, yes, I spoke about patience. I spoke about, I think calmness is important, because if you are not calm, you do not have the ability to listen. You are not impartial. You are not flexible. And this flexibility, I spoke about it when I told you it's important to adapt to the circumstances, and then to the nature, the vibration of the parties, and the area, the environment, etc. And the communication is key, because if you do not have great communication abilities to listen to what they are telling you, to modulate them, simplify them in order to convey the message to the other party, it won't be successful. And both in all the cases, even when I was minister, when I was engaging inside the countries, it is very important for me. What I found out is that engaging the parties privately at the beginning, by groups, you go to For example, when I was engaging in the communities, I will engage with different groups: the youth, the women group, the men's group. Listen to their concern, and then at one point I will put everybody together. So we will discuss, and then we build the dialogue between them. And the dialogue is not very often easy, but when you can make it easy, you can connect the population, even though they have different opinions. It is a great thing, because beginning to speak, beginning to discuss, beginning to exchange is the first pace to understanding, mutual understanding.
So that flexibility is incredibly important then. And would you say that's true for both track 1 state mediation as well as engaging on track 3 with communities?
Exactly, correct. It is true throughout the process. Whenever, whatever stage in which you are, it is very important to be flexible. Okay. And the impartiality also, because if you sit down with people and they have the feeling that you support the other camp, you be sure that they won't be confident in what you are doing.
And in building that trust and that confidence, is it mostly, do you feel, in your prior engagements, those private engagements before the initiation of the mediation?
The prior engagement, in both cases, the prior engagement you have with the parties, you are already in the mediation.
Okay.
Because, yes, you are already, when I come to the communities that are in conflicts, I sit down with them. The fact of even coming there, seeing them, even if I don't say that I'm here to mediate, it is already mediation. It is different with the political processes, because with the political process you are officially appointed before you meet the people. They would say, the Secretary General would say, Aichatou Mindaoudou is the Joint Chief Mediator. Everybody, it is known. So in this case, you will face two problems. The first one is that they will Google you, I don't know, whatever, find some information about you, and then they would say, no, we don't like her because she did this and that. This is very sad. And if they have this feeling, be sure that it would be very, very difficult to enter into a mediation process. The second situation is that, okay, let's be open. Let's listen to her. Let's see how she is approaching the problem, and we'll see. And there, all the challenges lie on your shoulders, and it is where you have really to show those competencies, if I can call them that, being calm, and then being patient, and having the ability to listen to them. I remember when I arrived in 2013 in Ivory Coast, the situation was so tense between the government and the opposition parties. And the mission tried to engage the opposition parties, but they were very, very, very upset against the UN. So when I arrived, the first thing my deputy told me is that, look, madam, it is not even necessary to engage with those people because they won't accept. So I just arrived. I didn't meet them. I didn't even know them. It is true, before I came, before I reached Cote d'Ivoire, they issued statements saying, no, we don't want her. We don't want to discuss with her because, and it wasn't true, you know. At one point of her life, she took position against us when she was foreign minister. She did this, she did that, she did that. What was not absolutely true. So I told my colleague, look, you know, as mediator, I am ready to speak to the devil if necessary. Me, I'm not going to take for granted what you are telling me because I didn't see them. Just make sure I have an appointment with them. I will go sit down with them and then I will listen what they have to tell me. So they took the appointment. We went, we were almost, let's say 7 or 10 people from the mission. I was the head. So, and those people, the entire political party was sitting in a huge room. So I came, I sat down with my colleague. They were against me. They didn't want to talk to me and they were not open to talk to me. So I just sat down, I greeted them. I said, okay, I am here to introduce myself. I'm the new SRG. And one of my mission, the main one, I would say, is to conduct the good offices in Côte d'Ivoire. I think that they were surprised. And when the representative took the floor, he said, oh, look, we want to greet you and to wish you a very, very warm welcome in Côte d'Ivoire. And we want to tell you that as our sister, we are very, very keen that you are here and we are ready to engage with you. And do you know, I spent 4 years and a half and I broke very, very incredible agreement with those people. So if at the beginning I refused to go to see them, you can be sure that my mission would be a failure. So it is when it is political, people know you, they know your name, they don't know who you are, but they can reject you. But it is important to go and sit down and meet with them. Sometime one day also we went to see the very radical opposition party. So when I reached those people, they were 2 or 3 very old men who are the head of the party. Mm. I sat down there. They spent 2 hours. I tell you, 2 hours just insulting me, insulting UN, insulting everybody. I didn't say a word. I didn't say a word during the 2 hours. I was just sitting, listening to them. When they finished this, I told them, look, I'm an African. You are my elders. So I take note of what you said. And I will try to work through it, but I cannot contradict you because you are much more older than me. And my education, the philosophy of an African is not to come and really fight with you. But I take it I take note, and we will speak later. So I left. Do you know that those people, a month later, they came to the mission and they told me, no, madam, now we are ready to speak with you. But they spent 2 hours insulting me. Mm-hmm. So it is what I mean.
So you need a lot of resilience as a mediator and that ability to find that common ground. And also in the story that you've shared, I'm understanding the importance of understanding various cultural ideologies, various cultural ideas and backgrounds, and being respectful of those and being respectful of your elders and how important that was in the African philosophy and in this situation that you faced as well.
Exactly. And I think I can share another story that is coming to my mind to respond to to add to the responses I gave for the very first question. Mm. When talking if the approach to mediation is impacted by ideals, I said that it is certainly impacted by ideals, but it is also impacted by the culture, because in Darfur, when the first time I went to meet this group of population, they organized a very warm welcome for me. And I was sitting when one of the show they wanted to deploy before me is that they you know the women in the village. So they were I don't know how to say it in English. It is you know when they prepare the millet.
Mm-hmm.
A kind of mortar, you know, do you know it?
The pestle and mortar, yes.
Exactly. So they brought the mortar, they put the grain in it, and then they begin just piling it,
Mm-hmm.
just piling it to make it to make the how do you call it? Of you understand some French? Farine, we say. It
The
is
meal, the powder, they're breaking it down. Am I understanding that correctly? They're breaking the meal down.
exactly. So I just rose up and then I went to them. So I took one of these, how do you call it? The stick with which they were working in the mortar.
In
Because
English, it's the pestle.
how pistol,
Pestle with an E, like pistol, but with an E, pestle.
pestle. So
Yes.
I took the pestle and I began working with them because I grew up like this. I know it in my culture. And so they were so overwhelmed. Say, you are our sister. So, okay, it is good. Come. And it opened all the doors.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
That's so special to know that there's that common ground. I mean,
Exactly.
it makes me wonder then sometimes if you can be a non-African to mediate African conflicts. I'm going off the topic here, but just it's making me think, what is it valuable? Is it useful? Because it seems to me like a lot of connection and groundwork and cultural understanding is necessary in these processes to build that trust and to have a sustainable conflict-free outcome.
Yes, I tend to understand that and to believe that. But you have great mediators that are non-Africans that broke very good agreements. So no, I think it is a kind of feeling. It is a kind of natural way of being. I put much more emphasis in the the characters of the mediator, the human being. Yes.
Okay. So finding that humanity, that is I suppose, a cultural background that connects us all is humanity, regardless of where you are from. To find that, yeah.
Exactly.
And then I'm thinking here, when you were talking about the preconceived ideas, the preconceived notions people have about you, whether it's because they've Googled you and seen what you've achieved in your career, or whether it's just by your appearance of being a woman. That is also very interesting to me, how you have to overcome those preconceived ideas about you as well before you get into the mediation process, or as the start of the mediation process.
But I would surprise you. Do you know that being a woman in Darfur, you are open and facilitate my work? Because in Darfur, there are Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very, very strong preconception of women. Mostly those rebels, when the first time I saw them, even me, I had to think very hard to show confidence before them. Because can you imagine, I was the only woman sitting among those males with the turbans, those attires, local attires, and so on. But they quite adopt me. I think that you have in Africa, you have that respect and feeling of a kind of seeing the women as a mother, and mainly if you are sitting to facilitate and the resolution of conflict. So I think that they would see you differently as if you were their spouse or their children, their how do you call it, their girls
Sister.
and their or sister. They had different behavior when we were sitting working. They are different than the one they would have in their family or in their community. This I found it. Me, I didn't face any problem being a Black woman mediating in those societies. In Cote d'Ivoire, they call me Mama. The way they call.
What you're saying is not if I just started these interviews, I would be surprised. But now, after having spoken to quite a number of mediators, particularly women mediators at both track 1 and track 3, I'm hearing that there are challenges for some of the women, but also other women are actually seeing gender as an advantage. They're seeing it as a way to do mediation where they're treated with respect, where they are seen to be experts in terms of relationships, in terms of understanding, in terms of, as you say, almost that mother role, the sister, the mother, that sort of a role is what they take on in the mediation process. Other women I have spoken to have given a different story where they are very much discriminated against. So I'm not surprised, but it's fascinating to hear that your experiences are very similar to that of other women mediators as well.
I think it is different it differs from person to person, certainly. I don't know what is the approach. You know, I'm very, very, very keen to those, you know, feelings, you know, meditation and so on. So I'm sure somewhere vibrations can connect you. You know, it depends on how you approach people. Even you, when we see each other for the first time, you know, we connect or not. That's it. It is human.
Yes.
Exactly. So I think
Absolutely.
it is important. So allow me to get back to go back, please. Excuse me, to the question 3.
Yes.
You know, what is, in my opinion, what should be the selection criteria for being a leader in mediation process? I found out that at the beginning, you know, mediation is a natural gift. Okay. Because I met with a lot of local women in the communities in Cote d'Ivoire. They were really naturally mediators. They didn't go to any school. They didn't attend any training. But naturally, you can see in the community that they have this ability to mediate. And I use them in the process. So it is not, being mediator is not a skill that is only gained through the books and so on. So even me, myself, I never ever took a training or course on mediation. Never. So I think the two can go together. Don't forget that aspect.
That intuitive side of it, which is side. Yes, which I think is often associated with women as well.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense. But we can't deny that, particularly in track 1, there's definitely more men involved in mediation than women. I think that is a reality, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it is a reality. But me, I link it to, you know, this women's character that at the first you don't want. We have some kind of how can I put it? A kind of in French I would say timid. I don't know how to say it in English.
Okay.
You know, yes. Let me just find out. I have Yes, it is a kind of being shy, you know. And it,
Yes.
because me, I was talking to you about the situation where I found myself among almost 150 males. So the natural process when you are a woman is just to be a little bit shy. So, and we or not, because I worked a lot on women in development, and on women in local communities, on women in decision making, and so on and so. There is a kind of this tendency of women of just stepping back. You have to push them a little bit. And second, it is also, you know, all the fight now we are conducting with some of my former colleagues through an organization we founded. It is related to really giving positions to women inside at the UN, at the African Union, putting women on those mediation process, because as you know very well, the tendency is not to choose a woman in a conflict. Or even though in leading the processes, I was the very first African woman to lead a peacekeeping mission, for example, and it was in 2011, where you know very well that in Africa you have very, very competent women that can do it. So there is also, I think, this fight to really push every institution to consider women in leading roles with regard to mediation and with regard to very senior positions.
Would you mind telling us a little bit more about that foundation and how you are pushing women forward so they're no longer timid?
No, you know, it is all is what I am doing. Me is directed to the youth. You know, the young ladies. I'm mentoring some of them. It is through, you know, building confidence, through talking about leadership to them, and then sharing experiences, and showing them that it is possible, they can make it, they can do it, etc., etc. Now, with regard to the organization that is called GWL, that is chaired by the former chief of staff of Ban Ki-moon. So this organization, we are working through lobbying at the UN, and also through making a lot of publication. You can see them on Twitter and so and everything. It is GWL, Global Women Leadership. So this gathers all the former women that formerly kept high position in the UN. So it is a kind of international lobbying to really make the UN agencies consider women when they are appointing people.
That's amazing, and also how important it is for the youth to have role models like yourself, to know that this is possible, that this is something that they can get involved in, and they can also follow in your footsteps and achieve. I think that for women, that mentorship, that leadership, that examples of role models is so important.
Exactly.
Now I think we've basically come to the last question, which you have addressed a little bit in your previous sharing. What obstacles or challenges do you typically encounter in the mediation process, and how do you overcome these?
No, I think, as I said, I didn't have any obstacle of challenges with regard to my gender. But the obstacles and challenges, or the common ones you find in mediation, it can be very difficult to convince people that are very, very emotive and emotional on position. And this obstacle, you will overcome it by being patient and by being a very, very good listener. You have to listen to all their grievances. And you also have to talk with them, communicate with them. Sometimes you have to show that some of the grievances don't have any foundation, you see. Sometimes it is only emotional. So this can be sometimes very hard, because when you will have to spend an entire day talking about the same subject to people, so you really must be very, very, very passionate and have a great ability to communicate. It is the only thing I'm seeing.
I am a psychologist in my field. And so for me, it's always listen to hear, don't listen to speak.
Exactly.
We need to understand what people are saying to us, rather than just trying to tell people our ideas.
But
and it seems to be
in mediation, your ideas are not very important. Let me put it that way. Your ideas are not important. They are just on the second position. Just have to listen, as you said, to hear. And when you show this ability of listening, they will talk, they will say all their grievances, they will say everything. And at the end of the day, I think it is a kind of soulagement. Let me see. It is a kind of relief, yes, relief for them. And when this relief is there, so you have now the ground to move forward in the work.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm just I'm so blown away by by what you're saying, and also thinking that the word for relief sounds much more beautiful in French than it does in English.
And in French, it is soulagement. Soulagement. It is relief.
I'm going to remember that. That's beautiful. It is. I suppose it's almost necessary to get a catharsis, to get the people to speak and to feel that relief, so that the pain and the trauma can be moved through to get to the resolution, because it's impossible just to come to the resolution immediately. There's a process of feeling heard and moving through trauma created by conflict that I can imagine everybody needs to go through. It doesn't matter whether it's on a state level or a community level.
Exactly. It is correct.
So then, I suppose lastly, is there anything that you would like to share with us about a particular conflict that you mediated, and how you learned from that process and implemented it in the future in other mediation that you worked through? Was there any particular instance that was very important to you as a learning curve in your mediation, your vast mediation experience?
I think that a mediation is always a plus in your experience, even if it is inconscient, you always capitalize on what you have done. Doing that, you can avoid errors and some missteps that you have taken. So I could say I learned a lot. I learned let me say, the humans. Because if you you are not a mediator if you don't go through the mediation process. There are a lot of human aspects you don't know. You don't realize how conflicts, how traumas can deeply be a kind of wound to people. So it's really much more human, I can say. Because sitting with women that have been raped, that do not have any other solution than you. Because I chaired the WHO Commission on the sexual abuse in Congo. When you go through this process, you just become more human, I could say, because before going through those mediations, through those situations, I was sitting in my comfortable zone. I don't even have any idea those situations exist. You know, the situation, conflict situation, the violation of human rights, the traumas that our community at whole can witness. The need, really, it brings me back to my ideals as an African, to see really the social cohesion in Africa with no conflicts, social conflicts, conflicts of any kind. So it is a very, let me say, philosophical impact that all those processes had on me. And I think that I came out much more skilled, because the most efficient skill you can have is would come out of practice. It is what I can say, because I never thought about it. It is the first time I really try to reflect on this.
So we're giving you food for thought.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that.
That is something that I like to do, and I like to experience myself. Speaking to people makes me think about things in a new way, which is always valuable.
Yeah.
And I can also imagine that mediating and dealing with such traumas must take a toll on you as a human as well. I know from my experience working with women in prison, it changes a person to hear of the traumas of others. You take that with you in some other way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, well, I've now had you for an hour, and I've absolutely enjoyed every moment listening to you generously share with us. Is there anything last that you would like to share to tell us before I let you go?
No, it's okay. I would like just to thank you, really. I enjoyed this conversation because, you go through a position, through a work. When you are undertaking the activity, it seems natural for you, you are only on the outcome, on appeasing the conflict, on whatever. It is a kind of focus on achievement and results. But when I leave the situation, I think it is the same as your psychologist. It is the same for everyone. I almost turn the page, and those occasions of reflecting on what I have done. So I'm happy and I'm grateful because I can see from where I came and what I have done, and the little small achievements I was able to reach, I think is my contribution to the entire African process of conflict resolution and my my deep wish is that more women go through this or occupy those positions, and largely I think more people are interested in mediation, with the wish also that at the end of the day, mediation is no more needed anymore in Africa. That's it. Which means that we have a peaceful Africa focused on development and really the advancement of the populations and everything, and making this agenda 2060 something very, very, very real. I'm saying it very broadly, but thanks to you. I think I didn't have this kind of conversation since almost 3 years. I think the last one I had was 4 years ago. So it's okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And what a beautiful wish to leave us with, that all your considerable work, I won't say your small contribution because it's a huge contribution that you've made. The hope that one day there will be no need for mediation is, I think, such a beautiful and generous way to move the future forward, to think of the future, that we won't need these considerable contributions that you've made because we can all find peace. I think that is an absolutely beautiful wish. So thank you so much.